What's up, everybody? This time to wrestle with Suplexus. I'm Suplexus, and today I'm gonna give you my predictions for All Out. Sorry about that. And WrestlePalooza, Indianapolis. So, um, this is gonna be a pretty long video because we got two pay-per-views to go through. WWE has 5 matches on theirs. Then AEW, I'm reading from a website for AEW because they probably have 8 to 10 matches, and I don't want to forget anything. And I'm recording this before I watch Dynamite, so if Beast Mortos versus Hologram gets announced for Wrestle or not WrestlePalooza All Out, or on Friday if Tiffany, Jade, and Naya gets announced for WrestlePalooza, I apologize. So, without further ado, let's start off with WrestlePalooza. And my prediction, I gotta get this out of the way too. Um, I've been in university, that's why I've been posting less frequently, just to let you know. So, the first match for WrestlePalooza is Io Sky right here versus Stephanie back here for the Women's World Championship. Now, in this one, the story heading in isn't really revolving around Stephanie Vacker versus Io Sky. It's more about Io Sky and Asuka. What's going on with them? Because Asuka has been getting jealous. Io's been hanging around with Rhea Ripley. Asuka's been getting pretty jealous at that. And that's been the story. Asuka's trying to separate her friendship. She keeps saying Kyrie every time. It's pretty funny. Um, but that's been the situation. And Asuka has vowed not to interfere in this match, not to help Io win the title after Io asked her repeatedly about that. So, with that being said, my prediction for this and new Women's World Champion, I know both of them would be new, that's why it's a trick. I am predicting Stephanie Vacker to take the win with the help of Asuka. I think we're gonna get the Asuka turn. I think Kyrie's gonna end up turning, and then looking at Crown Jewel, I'm gonna predict Rhea Ripley and Io versus the Kabuki Warriors to happen, and then we'll get the Crown Jewel Championship, Stephanie Vacker and whoever the champ is from SmackDown. A crew just flew by. Probably Tiffany Stratton or Jade Cargill. Next match we will get into is it'd feel weird to cover the WWE Championship match right now. So let's cover a different one. Let's do Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed, B&B Security, whatever you want to call them, versus the Usos. Yeet, no yeet, yeet, no yeet, yeet. I did it wrong. Um, let's predict that match. For this one, I'm predicting Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker to take the win. And I think this will come because of LA Knight interfering, because we've seen LA Knight and Jey Uso getting at each other recently. And I also think Jay's new attitude, there's potential for miscommunication with Jay and Jimmy. So I am predicting Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker. I'm sorry about that. My computer's telling me about storage. My apologies. Um, yeah, I'm predicting them because Jay's new attitude and LA Knight costing Jey Uso the match. Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker will take the win. And the next match we will predict is the mixed tag team match. AJ Lee and CM Punk. I don't know why I forgot. Versus Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch. For this one, I'm gonna predict the baby faces to win. Uh, that'll be AJ Lee and CM Punk. At every turn, it feels like Seth Rollins has gotten the better of CM Punk. I think AJ Lee will pin Becky Lynch to set up for a match in Perth. Punk will get the win over Seth without pinning him, and this is our early prediction. I'm gonna say at Royal Rumble that will be where Punk beats Seth Rollins thanks to returning Roman Reigns. There's my prediction for January. That's thinking far in advance, but for now, I'm gonna go CM Punk and AJ Lee. Sorry about that. Now we will talk about the WWE Undisputed Championship as we have the American roller coaster Cody Rhodes taking on Brock. Wait a minute. Not Brock. uh, I meant I meant Drew McIntyre. I'm thinking about Brock versus Cena. Drew McIntyre is gonna fight Cody Rhodes. In this one, I'm gonna predict Cody Rhodes to retain. It's his first championship defense. I kind of want Drew McIntyre to win just to spice up SmackDown a little bit, but it's not likely. The safe option is Cody winning first defense. I think eventually Drew McIntyre should win the title from Cody. That's looking at around Survivor Series time. Yeah, Survivor Series time. I think that'd be fair for Cody to lose the title then. Maybe thanks to Randy Orton. But for now, I'm gonna say Cody gets the victory. He retains his title. It'll be some shenanigans so that they can continue the feud into match 2 or match 3. So, there's my prediction for that. And now, it is John Cena versus Brock Lesnar. Not Cody versus Brock Lesnar, like I said before. So, this one, I always try to find the story in it. Like, something's gonna happen later. This got thrown together. This really got thrown together, and it's gonna be the main event. It's like Cena's farewell tour. Like, that's the excuse here. For this one, I'm gonna predict John Cena to walk away with the victory. I think that is the safe option here. I just think Cena's running his greatest hits, and if Brock wins, we're gonna have a rematch, and then that's gonna take up another match of John Cena's tour. We're gonna spend 2 matches on Brock Lesnar. I don't like that. Let's just give Cena the win. His next opponent could come out after the match, and we'll be done with that. So, speaking of being done with that, I have now finished my WrestlePalooza predictions, and now it is time for me to trust my phone to give me the correct All Out card. Let's get into the All Out predictions. Boom. And the first match, you know what? This has a different order, seeing as Hangman Page is right here. Let's talk about Hangman Page versus Kyle Fletcher. Um, This build has been decent in my opinion. They told the story of Kyle Fletcher putting Kenny Omega on the shelf, and um, Kyle Fletcher is the TNT champion, so it just makes sense. Kyle Fletcher would be the guy to fight Hangman Page after what he did to Kenny Omega. If there's one little nitpick I have, Kyle Fletcher being a champion here Um, does seem kind of weird that we're gonna end up beating a champion, but I think it won't do any harm to Fletcher. It won't make him any better, but it shouldn't do any harm. I am picking Hangman Page to win. It's a safe option. Um, I think Hangman Page is destined to lose to MJF. That's the way I see it, at least right now. So I got Hangman Page retaining the championship. Now, next one is going to be a 8-woman tornado tailgate brawl. That is the official name of this match. As we see Hurley Cameron, Mina Shirakawa, Queen Aminata, and Willow Nightingale go up against Megan Bain, Penelope Ford, and the Triangle of Madness, which is going to be Julia Hart and Sky Blue because Tekla will be involved in the women's world title four-way to come later in the show. So this one, um, I haven't been invested in really. All I know is they have had a boatload of tag matches on Collision. Like your special Tony Khan special All Star 500,000 $1 billion 100,000 50,000 for whatever it is. They've had a lot of those matches on Collision. So this is a Collision story. I don't watch Collision. I really just watch Raw, Dynamite, and SmackDown. So, um, uh, thinking about what I'm gonna predict later in the night, I will have the heels pick up the win in this Triangle of Madness. I forgot the other two. Penelope Ford and Megan Payne pick up the win. So, the next match, I'm not gonna cover this one. Um, The next one we will cover will be the trios tag team match between the Hurt Syndicate and Ricochet and the Gates of Agony. Um, this one had quite a weird build where Ricochet screwed Hurt Business or Hurt Syndicate out of the titles at Forbidden Door for something they did over a year ago where they wouldn't let him in the faction. A little weird calling back to that in such a sudden manner. You bring the story back instead of slowly, just boom, out of nowhere, they come out and cost them the titles. But regardless, this is where we're at. I'm gonna predict the Hurt Syndicate to win if they do have as much creative control as I hear online. I'm gonna say the Hurt Syndicate won't be the type of people to lose their titles to one show and then lose right after. I would be happy if Ricochet got a win, but the predictable option is the Hurt Syndicate. I really think they should build Ricochet better. This guy should be fighting for the unified title that Okada has, if not that, the world title, in my opinion. But I'll still leave it at that. I got the Hurt Syndicate. The next one will be Mercedes Moné versus Riho. Um, there's nothing really to the story. It's just Mercedes beating another person on pay-per-view. I'm gonna predict Mercedes. Where they go from here, I don't know. It feels like we're probably gonna get the Tony Storm match, a rematch eventually. That's all there is to say. Mercedes beats everybody for the title. Riho coming back 2 or 3 weeks ago isn't gonna stand a chance. Mercedes retains. The next one is a coffin match between Jon Moxley and Darby Allin. Um, this one, the build there is there is proper build for this, where Moxley put him on the shelf. Darby helped him lose the title at All In. Darby really helped him lose the rematch on Dynamite. And then, sorry if you're the ambulance, um, that might be where one of these two end up after the coffin match. Um, yeah, that was kind of distasteful. My bad. Um, anyways, with everything that's happened, I am gonna predict Darby Allin to win. I think it's time for him to win. He's been fighting these guys for a while. I have him right off the Death Riders. This should be the end of the faction. End it with a bang. Have Darby climb up the entire arena and jump off the arena roof onto Moxley. You know how Darby is. Like, Darby Allin, that's one thing I gotta say. Uh, This guy is more Daredevil than anyone I've ever seen in wrestling before. Like, he legit does these crazy spots every week just for our entertainment. That's pretty cool and dangerous. So, I am picking Darby Allin to win, and hopefully the Death Riders are gone after, because they have never been relevant, not even at Wrestle Dream last year, in my opinion. So, yeah. The next one is a tables and thumbtacks match between MJF and Mark Briscoe. Um, this I think is gonna be my favorite match of the night for AEW. Um, MJF is my top three wrestlers. It's Roman, it's EO. I just realized I did the finger. My apologies. And it's MJF. I really like his work. And then Mark Briscoe. I don't think there's anyone in the world that dislikes Mark Briscoe. You'd be hard pressed to find someone who feels that way. And for this one, I'm gonna predict Mark Briscoe to take the victory. And I know MJF has a contract, but I see big picture. Let's say Briscoe wins here, gets a win, a pinfall win over MJF. MJF later on wins the title from Hangman. You could circle back to this because Mark Briscoe already got a win over him. He's the last guy to beat him on pay per view. So you could get that title match and set it up over here. So I'm predicting Mark Briscoe to win. Um, which one's it? The four-way for the AEW Women's World Championship. Defending champion Tony Storm versus Tekla, Jamie Hayter, and Chris Statlander. I'm expecting this to be pretty fun. I am a Chris Statlander fan. I'm a Jamie Hayter fan. I'm a Tony Storm fan. Tekla, I'm not really sure about. I don't know really what she brings to the table, even after like 2 months. So for this, I'm predicting Tony Storm to win. Real quick, I will give you the scenario I want, and the women's division needs help. So this is mini fantasy booking. We're at the show, and the four-way's happening. In the end of the match, Statlander and Tekla are in the ring. Statlander hits her finish on Tekla, but earlier in the match, Tony Storm went after the same arm that she targeted on Jamie Hayter when she injured her for over a year at Double or Nothing 2023 for about, what was it, 15 months. So at the end of the match, um, Jamie Hayter prevents Tony Storm from getting in the ring, holds her legs while she tries to get in. Statlander wins the title. So with this, we go into Wrestle Dream, and we have Jamie Hayter fighting Tony Storm, And Jamie Hayter says, Tony, since you are a role player, since you're a Hollywood actor, I want to fight the Tony Storm that put me on the shelf at Double or Nothing. So Tony comes out looking like her outcast version, and the match gets thrown out. And then both of them want the title shot. Tony wants a rematch. Jamie Hayter wants the title she got screwed out of by the Outcast all those years ago because she never got a proper rematch and never got pinned. So we got Full Gear, the Statlander, Jamie Hayter, and Tony Storm. And Statlander retains. And then we got Jamie Hayter versus Tony at World's End in some street fight. Jamie Hayter gets the win. So in the end, I want either Double or Nothing or All In. My two big women's matches. We're gonna have Chris Statlander defending against Willow Nightingale, the women's world title, and then we're gonna have the TBS title. Jamie Hayter defending against Tony Storm. Quick fantasy booking. If you're still watching at this point, let me know what you thought of that in the comments below. Yeah, I predict Tony. um, Next, I'll go over the three-way match for the Continental, not the Continental. They unified that title. It's the Unified Championship now, because they unified it. It's Okada defending against Takeshita and someone to be announced, Dorada or Beast Muertos. I know I said Muertos versus Hologram earlier, but I think Muertos is going to be in this. Hologram is going to have to sit out. I'm predicting Okada to win and pin Muertos, and this will lead to the split of Okada and Takeshita, where they will fight at Wrestle Dream, and Takeshita will win the title. Next match, we got Eddie Kingston versus Big Bill. Really basic here. Big Bill called out Eddie Kingston. Eddie Kingston is going to win. He might get involved in the coffin match later in the night because the history he has with Moxley and especially Claudio Castagnoli. Four-way title match, Brodito versus To Be Determined versus To Be Determined versus To Be Determined. One of them have probably been determined by now. That is probably the Young Bucks. But I'm gonna predict Brodito to retain the tag titles. I think the Young Bucks will eventually beat them for it, so they could fight Cope and Christian or Edge and Christian. So I'm predicting Brodito to walk out tonight or All Out because there's not enough story for it. So up next, I am gonna predict the Cope and Christian versus FTR, and I am gonna say Cope and Christian win in the main event. Thank you for watching. This has been Suplexus. Have a great day.